right, Manman, let's take a look at your new set of essays, pollutions. Let's see what you wrote here. Nowadays, pollution has been becoming a more severe problem, especially in large cities. There are two main reasons: the poisonous air exhausted by cars, which are used as an essential commuting way by people, and the waste generated in people's daily lives and work. Some approaches could be applied to resolve this. Okay. This is generally fine. There are a couple of things I would certainly change, though. Let me tell you what they are. First of all, nowadays is a key word for the present continuous, sometimes the present simple. So has been becoming a little awkward here. Why don't we change it? Nowadays, pollution has, no, not even has become. All right, nowadays, pollution is becoming a more severe problem, especially in large cities. There are two main reasons. The poison air emitted, it's not exhausted, it's emitted by cars. Um, and you have to be careful with this, which is used. I understand that it goes to the cars, but it almost sounds as if the which is used is the poisonous air. So you have to be careful with these types of expressions here. How about this? The poisonous air emitted by cars people use as an essential commuting way. Or, no, again, the poisonous air emitted by cars people use to commute and the waste generated in people's daily lives and work. Okay, and then the rest of it is fine. All right, so let's see. On the one hand, the fume caused by cars is the main source of air pollution in big cities. This is because people tend to choose to go to work by private cars, which not only generate CO2 but also make cities, you don't need the apostrophe here, full of other toxic components. With the construction of cities, the distance from where people live to their offices becomes longer, and public transportation, singular, is not as convenient as private cars, especially in days of bad weather. In addition, recently the pace of life has become quicker than before. Thus, commuting a long way to work needs no, not it needs to take more time, but commuting a long way to work takes more time. And also public transportation is much slower than private cars. Okay. Um, let me see about this. The thing that I kept thinking as I went through this is the connection of your ideas, how they link to one another. Is there a logical chain of your ideas? So let's say air pollution is the problem because people go by cars, they generate CO2 and other components. When we make cities, this wasn't really clear to me. So look, with the construction of cities, the distance from where people live to their offices become longer. That wasn't really clear to me. Like, why are you assuming this? Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I was like, I don't get the connection between these ideas. So I probably would have written something else, or I would have liked to see something else here. You not with the construction, but with the expansion of cities, the distance from where people live to their offices become longer. And since in many cases, you have to be careful with that, public transportation is not as convenient as private cars, especially in days of bad weather. What does that mean? It means that people choose to use their private vehicles, okay? And then, okay, the pace of life has become quicker than before. Thus, let's see, because commuting a long way to work takes more time and public transportation is slower, there are more and more private cars on the road. Does that make sense? Because your point is that our life is fast. And since our life is fast and commuting with public transportation is slow, we need to use cars. And there's more cars on the road. Therefore, more pollution. That's the way your ideas need to flow. All right. It might seem um, kind of maybe even childish, like maybe kind of like overly logical and overly simple, but this is precisely how you have to express your ideas. Okay? Nobody is in your head, and so nobody knows exactly how you're thinking, so you have to make your thoughts really, really, really very clear. All right. On the other hand, the waste caused by unrecycled materials like plastic packages leads to land and water pollution. Tons, you spelled it wrong. You wrote tones here. So it's tons of living waste make land all not in landfilling places, make all landfills run out of space. Moreover, the soil of these places used for landfills becomes harmful to people, humans, animals, and plants. This is because other approaches to processing waste are more expensive and time consuming. The polluted water is caused by wastewater. The polluted water is caused by wastewater disposal to rivers without any necessary, not pureeing, it's purifying is the word you want here. The reason for this is that more people moving to cities to live a better life, but the pace of city expansion has left behind the upgrade of the infrastructure of many cities. All right, so let's look at this. You're talking about landfills, okay? So let me see. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to go through it sentence by sentence to see the links between all these ideas. So, unrecycled materials. Wait, oops. Okay. Landfill. They make the landfill run out of space. I don't know if you really need this. Okay. Landfills are running out of space. Okay. So, why are you telling me this? Does that make sense? Maybe you want to. So, you have to explain to me why this is a problem. Okay. And then, so why don't we do this differently? And I have another problem that we have to talk about too. The waste caused by unrecycled materials like plastic packages leads to land and water pollution. Okay. Tons of waste is then dumped into landfills, which then becomes harmful to humans, animals, and plants because the soil becomes polluted. Okay, so do you understand what I'm doing? I'm trying to link I'm trying to find how each sentence and each idea connects to each other. Okay, let's see. The polluted water is caused by, I don't know if you mean wastewater disposal. All right, fine. And then I didn't understand this about people moving to the cities. Maybe you needed to do it a little differently. Maybe you needed to say instead that city expansion is also creating a problem of water pollution because wastewater is dumped into rivers without the necessary purification to it. This creates polluted water since the infrastructure cannot keep up with the rate of expansion. So something like that. Now, okay, I see what you did here. This is what I was concerned about. I'm going to tell you that I really disagree with putting your conclusion in your, putting your solutions in the conclusion. The right way to do this is to have one paragraph for problems, one paragraph for solutions, and then a conclusion here. This is definitely not the right way to do it. You never put your solutions in the conclusion. It's just not enough, okay? You need to give them their own paragraph. There are a couple ways to do that. One way is what I just said. Problems here, solutions here. Another thing you can do is, here's the problem, and then midway, I then start to tell you about the solution. Here's another problem, and then midway, I tell you about the solution. So that's another way to do it. There are two ways. Both can be very successful. But this is definitely not how I want you to do it, okay? So there are several methodologies to resolve the above problems. Firstly, the government should try to persuade more people to use electric cars by providing financial support to buy such vehicles, or by increasing the tax on oil cars. Secondly, More awareness of pollution problems can be raised using social media to notify people about the negative impacts of these problems. Lastly, regulations should be enhanced to limit using unrecycled material. All right, now I'm going to pretend that this is your third paragraph, your third body paragraph, and then there's a conclusion that comes after this. Let's pretend that for a minute. It's still not a paragraph. Do you know what you did here, Man? You wrote a list. You have firstly, secondly, thirdly. There is no extension regarding why these solutions are solutions. How do they help solve the problem? What do they do to solve it? So that's absolutely what you need to do. It's not enough to just tell me why. It's not enough to just tell me that they should use electric cars. Tell me why. Okay? Tell me why they should do this. Tell me why it would help. All right? This is really important. You need to tell us how these electric cars would help. And it's really quite simple if you think about it. All you need to say really is electric cars do not have any of the CO2 emissions that oil cars do, which would reduce the toxic fumes emitted into the air. Okay, that's how you need to do it. And then here, social media, great, more awareness. How would that help? So when you tell me a solution, you have to tell me how the solution is a solution. How would it help? All right. So that's what you need to do. So my suggestion, um, if you want to talk about two problems, do so. So then you would have to shrink this. You would have to shrink this. You would have to condense them into one paragraph. And then you need to write a paragraph explaining the solutions, but why your solutions are solutions, how they help solve the problem. And then, of course, you need a conclusion saying that although pollution is a devastating problem in our urban cities today, there are solutions available to us that would help um, rectify this problem. In the future, more government funding and attention will be used towards solving the problem of pollution. And that's it. Okay, it doesn't have to be something, extremely long or advanced. It's just that simple. Okay, so that's what I want to see here. I hope that helps. I hope you understand what you need to do. That's why I want you to treat these problem solution essays. All right, let's take a look at the car. All right, this looks super small to me. Let me just double check. It would really help. Can you please include it in the image? It's very helpful to me if you can do that. All right, it's 164, so it's fine. I may have to open it because I do like to refer to it. So if you can include it, the image in here, that's very helpful to me. Let's see what you wrote. The bar chart compares differences in Ford, Audi, and BMW car sales in 9 European countries in 2018. Overall, France, Hungary, and Poland saw similar popularity for cars of the three brands. However, people in other countries have different preferences for car brands. There is the largest car sales figure for Hungary. The lowest number of car sales can be seen in Belgium. Okay, it. That's not entirely what I would have written for an overview. Let me tell you what I would have done. So an overview for me here would be Hungary saw the largest car sales and Belgium saw the least, and BMW sold the most cars of the three brands. That's it. So it would be a two-pronged overview. Talk about the highest total number, the lowest total number, and then which particular car brand sold the most. I'm pretty certain that it's BMW. Okay, so that's what I would write for an overview. Now let's take a look at what you did. So the grammar here was a little awkward. There is the largest car sales figure for Hungary. No, it should be Hungary had the largest sales of cars and the least were in Belgium. All right. And then, as I said before, I would not have included this. I would have said about BMW. The three different brands' sales are approximately equal to 130,000 separately in Hungary. All right, again, awkward. In Hungary, the three brands each sold approximately 130,000 cars, okay? Which is much higher than the figure of France which is the second largest market for these brands with nearly 100,000 of each brand. That's how I want you to do this. The respectively is not necessary and it doesn't work here. The smallest car markets of the three brands, Belgium, comma, only had less than 100,000 cars in total in 2018, no semicolon. Okay, so what you did is you just talked about three countries here, and we have an idea of what that total number is. Okay, fine, let's keep going. The people in Germany and Poland prefer Audi and BMW, while not the Belgian people, while in Belgium and Holland, people prefer Ford. In the UK and Holland, the popularities of BMW and Ford are the most significant. In contrast, the BMW is more popular than the other two in Ireland. All right, so what's really missing for me here is actually quite a bit, to tell you the truth. I felt like you did not include enough information. Let's look at this briefly. This is a chart. It's a bar chart with 36 pieces of information. Yeah, 36. So let's talk about why. Because you have the 9 countries, and then you have these 3 for each of the countries. But then on top of that, you have the total, okay? And that total is really important. That's why it's a stacked bar chart. If they were not interested in the total, they would not have included it. So what I want to do really fast is just tell you how I would have organized this. I would have spent a paragraph talking just about these totals, and it can be done really briefly. And then I would have spent a paragraph talking about the individual car companies. And there's a way to do it really efficiently. Watch how I do it really fast. So my first paragraph is, Hungary sold the most of the 3 brands across the 9 countries at just under 400,000. The second highest sales of the 3 brands was found in France at just over 300. The least number of cars were sold in Belgium at just under 100,000, followed by Italy at just over 100,000. You're done with that paragraph, okay? Or you could say the remaining countries, and you can name them, UK, Germany, Ireland, Holland, and Poland, all sold between 200 and 300,000 cars. And then you're done with that paragraph. Then you go to the next. Again, really grouping things and being economical with your time and your words. So BMW can really be summarized in 1 to 2 sentences. Watch this. BMW sold roughly 100,000 cars in each of the 9 countries, with the only exception Belgium at just around 10,000. Done. You're done with BMW, okay? Then Ford sold the next highest number of cars, period. Okay? It sold the most cars in Hungary and Holland with approximately 130, and the least number in Germany and Italy with approximately 20,000 cars. You don't have to say anything else because we know that for the remaining countries, it's between 20,000 and 130. So we don't need that information. You can leave it out. Then, Audi sold the fewest cars. While the brand was popular in Germany and Hungary with roughly 130,000, the UK, Belgium, and Italy sold the least amount with approximately 20,000 or less than 20,000. Okay? And again, you don't need to mention anything else. It's very important that earlier on you mentioned all 9 countries. Okay? But that's how I would do it. You left out all those middle numbers. You talked about the highs, you talked about those lows, and then you don't really need to bog down your report with all that other middle information, okay? I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some ideas about how to do this. Looking forward to see how you apply these tips in your next set. Okay, so good luck.